I believe what I say, but I know I'm not always right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm convict when I speak, I have conviction, but that's why I change my mind sometimes. I mean, the problem with being around someone who has conviction is that I'm very convincing. But then if a year later from now I change my mind, well, it's like, well, it's not my fault. Like I genuinely believe that. Like, trying to help you, but I changed my mind, and then that pisses people that pisses people off. I don't remember what your question was. I was going on a tangent.
Did the responsibility weigh on your mind with,
Oh, responsibility. Yeah. So that weighed very heavily on my mind because at a certain point I realized what was happening. And I was like, there's a lot of young men that are hanging on every word I have to say. And I knew that if I was going to lead them, I had to lead them in the right direction. Otherwise, I just had this sense of responsibility that if you're going to be following not what I say, but you're actually following me, then I had better not be leading you off a cliff. So I got to get myself right. And this is when my whole idea about authority, this is when I grew up. And so I could say this probably happened around 2018, between 2017, 2018. I started to realize, okay, I'm retarded, meaning don't follow me. Don't follow me because I'm a fallen man. I make mistakes. I'm going to screw up. And even though I have your best intentions in mind, I might be wrong. And so what do you do when you want that kind of certainty? Well, what were they doing? They were following me. So I had to ask myself, well, who am I following? Who am I accountable to? Who's my authority? And I knew that it couldn't be another guru. It couldn't be another, trainer that I looked up to. There were guys that I referenced and I thought they were smart, but like it goes beyond the information. It's the soul of it. Like, where am I leading these men's souls? Am I leading them towards damnation or salvation? Was really the ultimate end of each of our lives is the end itself, which is death. And I had to explore that as well. Like, am I filling these guys' minds and their hearts with things that will profit them, not just in this life, but in the next? Because I believe in the soul. I believe in spirit. I believe in God. I wasn't sure in what way. I didn't know what religion. I didn't know who to follow, but I was like, but I do believe that these men have souls and I'm feeding their souls. It had better be in the right way. It had better be positive. And if there's a heaven and there's a hell, I would have to answer for the damnation of millions of souls. And that weighed on me. Didn't matter to, because worldly success comes and goes, and you can't blame me for it, right? Can't blame me. But for the posture of your heart, what you believe who you are as a human being and where you're going and what your purpose is, that's totally different. And so that's a part of the reason why, and around the time that I started I don't even want to say my journey, but Christ started calling me back into his fold. And it was the last thing that I was even thinking about. And so, but it made logical sense to me at a certain point. Of course, there was the Holy Ghost and the Spirit moving me, and I take no credit for it at all. But then logically, I had to equivocate it with, okay, if Christ is my leader and God is the end, and if I'm genuine about going in that direction and men are following me, my hands are clean, because that's the ultimate end in itself. You're gonna die. And so whether this is true or not, whether I'm right or not, I feel much more, my sense of responsibility is satisfied knowing that at least if there is a heaven and hell, that my intention was to lead these guys' souls to hell, because we're all gonna die. To heaven, sorry, not to heaven, to heaven. And we're all gonna die. And we hate to meet you guys in hell and we burning up next to each other and you guys point your finger at me. You told me this. You didn't tell me that. I'll take that gamble. I'll take that gamble that if Christianity is wrong and there is no God and there is no heaven, fine. But if there is, I'd much rather be in a position to be sitting in heaven with you guys and saying, and y'all then really thanking me. See all those emails that you read before, those messages? Oh, Elliott changed my life. That means shit to me. I don't know if you noticed when you were reading it, I was dozing off. I was like, blah, 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 blah. But if we get to heaven together and you say, hey, Elliott, thank you. Now that means something, at least in the eyes of God.
That reminds me very much of actually literally just this Sunday, yesterday, Sunday morning sermon. Part of the preacher, he grabbed a long piece of rope, and he said, "This is your life," and it's kind of 1 centimeter at the end of the rope. He's like, everything that you do in this small 1 centimeter is gonna then continue in eternity. And obviously, his illustration is like that's what you should be postured towards. Like, firstly yourself,
Yeah.
and also the where you're leading other people with your opinions and your views and what you're basing your worldview on. How you're spending your time. And I found that deeply powerful. And I find it interesting how much of a parallel there is between hearing that
Yeah.
yesterday and exactly what you've sort of described with saying that there.